Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So, today is in the new background again, which is really exciting. But also today I will be looking at my notebook quite a bit because that's where I have the questions written down for today's video. So if you don't know, if you didn't see by the title, which I'm sure you did, considering you clicked on the video, thank you. Today I will be doing the mid-year freakout. Now, it's been one of my favorite videos to do when I was posting in 2018 and 2019. And so yeah, let's just get into the video and talk about all of my favorite books and bookish things, minus one for this year, but we'll talk about that minus one at the end of the video. So, let's talk about my best books so far in the year. So, I feel like my best book so far this year is Dread Nation and Concrete Rose. So, though I decided those are my best books, but I've already read 94 books this year. So I have a lot of things that I really like. There isn't very many books that I didn't like this year, and Dread Nation surprised me because it is an alternate Civil War themed book, and it comes along with a lot of important conversation. Number one, we follow our most of our characters, including our main character, is black. So of course there's the conversation of racism and suppression, but there's also kind of an underlying theme. There's also an underlying theme of of LGBT homophobic kind of themes, which of course, if this book is set in the 1800s, back in Civil War times, the American Civil War, then of course LGBT people weren't out in the open, and that it's a very important conversation. Mostly this book surprised me because I don't read historical fiction, let alone alternative historical fiction. So I really enjoyed this book in many, many ways. One, I enjoyed it because of the adventure. Two, I enjoyed it because of a strong female character and just the level of sass she has. And I also enjoyed this book because it was one of those books where the female character kind of had to prove herself in a sense, but at the same time refused to prove herself. She's like, no, I'm gonna go out and show you that I know how to kill these zombies, just because I can. I'm gonna go out and save these people, not to prove that I can, just because I can and I really want to, which was really exciting. Another book that I really, really enjoyed was We Set the Dark on High. Now, this is not American. This is Mexican, Puerto Rican. Two different things, I know, but it doesn't really tell you, but you can tell it's a Spanish country in North America somewhere. I say you can tell. You can't really tell. But I just forget which country it's in, and I'm sorry. But I really enjoyed this book, one, because I learned a lot again. I learned, of course, there was more themes of racism, suppression, the struggle of being poor in a Spanish-speaking country, the struggle of trying to do your best, like, you know, being one of the co-assistant helpers of the household. And again, this book was also LGBT themed. The characters never specifically said it, but there was actions that kind of led to that point, especially at the end of the book, when one of the female characters that she loves, someone, We Set the Dark on Fire, We Set the Dark on Fire is still a book that I struggled to explain my feelings without spoiling it, even though I read it in March. Now, that's really impressive considering that I struggle a lot with remembering things. Moving on from that, I read Concrete Rose, which is the prequel to The Hate U Give, and I just loved the prequel. One, because you learn where her Star's brother's name come from, and two, you can see the struggle, you can hear the things that they were told you about in The Hate U Give that her dad went through. which was a lot more than I remembered, because I opted not to reread The Hate U Give pre-Concrete Rose, and I kind of wish I had, but I didn't, and I think that made the book more enjoyable, because it was kind of like walking into a surprise. Other books by Angie Thomas, it of course deals with, racism, suppression, living in the hood, the violence of gangs, learning about protesting, what you believe in and what you don't believe in, freedom, different. There was also a really important topic that I relate to, which was weird to find something I relate to in a book that I obviously can't understand, and that is the subject of having differing opinions from your family, but also knowing that with certain family members you just have to cut them off. So toxic family. And I thought that was an important conversation to have in this book. I don't know if anybody else picked up on it, or if that was just a me thing, that I read too much into the book, but I feel like this has a lot of important conversation, including the conversation of toxic family and knowing when to cut certain people off. So that was really good. And then the best sequel you've read this year, quite a few actually. There was the Map of Days, Desolation of Devil's Acre, and A Conference of Birds, which are like the last 3 books in the Miss Peregrine series. Nemesis, which is the sequel to Diabolic and Empress, was a really good wrap up to the series. A Sky of the Storm, which I really, really want to reread the series, is the sequel to Ember in the Ashes, Torch Against the Night, and Reaper at the Gates. There's just a lot of good sequels happening, which gives me hope for the last half of the year, because I have quite a few sequels that I want to read this year. There's also, I think, 3 sequels that have yet to come out that I would love to read by the end of the year. There's just a lot of series finishing happening, and it makes me happy, but it also makes me nervous. Also, Across the Green Field, which is like book 6 in the Wayward Children series. Oh, new release you haven't read yet but want to. The only one I could think of off the top of my head was Shine Your Icy Crown, which is by Amanda Lovelace, and it is a poetry collection. I normally don't read poetry, but for some reason I really like Amanda Lovelace's books. She has written The Princess Saves Herself in this one, The Mermaid's Voice Returns in this one, Coffee with Ghosts. She's written quite a few series of poetry collection, and I'm excited to see where this one goes. From the looks of it, it still deals with mental health and maybe a little bit LGBT themed, which is a big arcing theme over a lot of her books, as she is LGBT herself, and deals with the different mental health things herself, which is always really good to read from someone who goes through those kind of things. Number 4 is most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. Again, quite a few, but the main 2 that I could think of was Anyway the Wind Blows, which is the 3rd book in the Carry On series, and Kingdom of the Cursed, which is a sequel to Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Benaskayako, who wrote the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. And that makes me really excited that there's a second series I am enjoying by this author. Number 5 is Biggest Surprise. The biggest surprise is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, simply because I tried to start this book twice and really just didn't vibe with it. I couldn't get into it, and when I did finally read it, which was by the audiobook, I really ended up enjoying the very complicated world building and setting and life of the character, and the way it kind of put a spin on fairy tales without being a official retelling. Like, this world had its own fairy tales and then remade its own fairy tales, if that makes any sense. It was a retelling of its own stories, which I have never read before. Now, granted, I only give this book a 3-star, but I still would put it at the top books of this year, and I've actually been thinking about rereading it because I have a feeling that it's more of a 4-star, and it just kind of got knocked down a peg because of all the books that I was reading along with it at the time. Number 6, I don't think comes as a surprise to anyone, especially me, and that is Midnight Sun, which is the prequel to Twilight. So, Twilight is not the greatest series. Being written in 2006, we also have the problem that it uses Indian instead of Native American. But, with that unfortunate thing aside, not that I'm trying to ignore that happens, because I will acknowledge all day long that happens, I did end up enjoying Eclipse and Breaking Dawn in the original series. I didn't like the other 2 books as much. Or no, it was New Moon and Breaking Dawn. Either way, I didn't end up enjoying the other books as much, but I still really, really loved the series. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it that much. I still enjoyed the series. So, even though it is from Edward's perspective, and I knew it was going to be creepy, I still had some hope that this book would hold out. No, this book did not hold out at all. I did not enjoy it whatsoever. So, that kind of made me really sad that I didn't enjoy this book as much as I was hoping to. Favorite new author? I don't know why I don't have anyone written down. And this is new to your debut, and I think I'm gonna go with Brian B. Hagen, but I don't know how to pronounce his last name. The author of Saga and Paper Girls and a couple other things. I really enjoyed Saga. I've almost caught up with the whole series, and I just picked up Paper Girls in July. And I really like his storytelling and the way the imagery, and I really enjoy the artist that does the imagery and stuff with his work. And then, book that made you, newest fictional crush. I don't really have anybody new that I can think of off the top of my head, honestly. And then, newest favorite character was Emilia, I believe is how it is pronounced based off of how it is spelled. Emilia is my favorite new character from Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. Book that made you cry. This is where it gets funny, at least to me, because I read a lot of heavy subject books. So, I deal with a lot of books that deal with big, difficult topics, past, racism, homophobia, suppression, families being torn apart or killed, so many things. And so it was hard to pick a book that didn't make me cry at some point, or didn't make me almost cry. But the one that really made me cry and just left me kind of feeling empty for a couple days, unsurprisingly, was This Is Where It Ends. This Is Where It Ends deals with a school shooting and 3 different groups of people. There is the people that are inside with the shooter, people who have escaped, are wandering the halls, everybody that doesn't know what's happening. So there's 4 groups. Everyone that doesn't know what's happening, and the track team that was outside practicing, and I was kind of dealing with everything from the outside in. I have never read a book with school shooting before, and maybe I should read more, but this was the one that kind of opened that perspective opened up to me, and I felt a lot of things in this book. As someone who has the mama bear personality, who was always the caretaker of the group, and as someone who is the elder sister of 2 younger sisters, it just hit me from all different angles. And also at the same time, you know, thank God I've never been through this, but at the same time, it really opened up my eyes to the chaos, to how tragic this is. I already knew it was tragic, and I still don't understand because, like I said, I've never been through that thing, and I can't imagine what other people go through. Yeah, and even thinking about this is where it ends, it still leaves me speechless, and I think that says a lot about the book. Question number 12 is, or question 11 is a book that made you cry, or made you happy, and that was the Tea Dragon Society. The Tea Dragon Society deals with the lore and history of tea dragons, and the tea that comes from the tea dragons. Don't worry, they're just tea dragons, are cute and don't get killed. And I just really enjoyed that world in general. So, question number 12 is the most beautiful book you bought. Super simple, super simple, but I think Nemesis and Sky Beyond the Storm are really, really pretty. And I also think my white UK copies of Throne of Glass are also pretty, but I forgot to bring them to my desk before I started recording, and I'm not gonna go get them. And then, 13 book you need to finish by the end of the year. So, anything to do with Shadowhunters, I need to hurry up and finish The Queen of Air and Darkness so I can get to Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron, but also, the Trials of Apollo series and the Magnus Chase series I really want to finish by the end of the year. So, yeah, because those are both chronicles that I said I was going to finish, have been saying I was going to finish for a long time, and I just haven't yet. So, the next question is favorite video or post from this year. This is non-bookish related, and I just started posting the photos. There you go. It's all my posts from Kings Island. I just started posting those here recently, and there's some of my favorite pictures that I've posted, you know, at some point. And those are over on my photography Instagram, Melissa Ham Photography, link in the description. But yeah, other than that, the last question is favorite book community members. Honestly, so many. I've discovered so many small creators. Maddie from Bookboard Rising Vlog, Jade from JD Reads, Gavin from Gavin's How to Train Your Gavin, Steph from Steph Loves, Spoopy. There's just a lot of small creators that I've discovered this year that I love. There's also Becca, and I can't think of her channel name right now, but there's just a lot of small creators that I've discovered this year. If you've made it to this point and have a favorite small creator, or you are a small bookish creator, feel free to let me know that you have a channel or a blog or something down below. And with that being said, that is it for today's video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!